Hello, welcome. In this video, we are going to make a closed Turkish minced meat pide. I saw a technique and I want to try it, so I will be doing it for the first time as well. Let's see how the result will turn out. To prepare the pide filling, we need ground beef. But I don't have ready ground meat, I only have meat. For those who say, how can I do it if I don't have a meat grinder? This will be a good example. First, I slice the meat thinly. I have a large kebab cleaver, and I go over it with that. Of course, the meat is a bit stubborn and takes effort. If we had a meat grinder, we would solve this in 10 seconds, but today we chose to put some work into it. I also thought we should see a new technique, and sometimes I do it this way so I don't dirty the grinder after cleaning it. Of course, this form is not fine enough, so I move to another method. I put the meat into an aluminum tray and place it in the freezer. We will wait about an hour so it freezes a bit. Meanwhile, let's prepare the other ingredients. I peel the onions and add them to a mixer. I peeled around 1 kilo of onions. If your eyes are tearing up, that's normal. The onion smell will fill the entire kitchen. Be prepared. Then I add green peppers and red peppers. If the peppers are too long, break them in half with your hand before adding so they can rotate more easily in the mixer. Then I turn on the mixer and finely chop the vegetables. We take the chopped vegetables into a large bowl. We will combine them with the minced meat soon. Now let's check the meat in the freezer. Yes, they have firmed up a bit. It would have been even better if they were a little harder. I put the meat into the mixer and start the machine, and suddenly the mixer explodes. Cap flies one way, camera flies the other way. Let's watch that again in slow motion. Looks like the mixer needed to be held tightly. The meat was difficult to chop, but as I said, if it had frozen more, it would have chopped better. Anyway, this form is also fine. It is starting to resemble minced meat. Of course, it doesn't chop the sinews very well, so you can pick out any visible sinews from the minced meat if you want. Then I go over it again with a knife so the thicker pieces become finer. Yes, it was a lot of work, but we finally prepared the minced meat. Now it's time to combine it with the vegetables. I add red pepper flakes, salt, black pepper, garlic powder, and a little cumin. I mix everything thoroughly. I use a small technique to put an equal amount on each piece of dough. I take some filling into my palm, form it into a ball, and set it aside. This way, the same amount falls on each piece of dough. Today, I have 25 pieces of dough in total. Now let's move on to the most important part, the dough. I add 2.5 kilograms of flour onto the table and open a well in the middle. Inside the well, I add 30 grams of dry yeast. Then I add 1,100 grams of warm water. The water should not be as hot as bath water. It should not burn your hand, just be slightly warm. Then I add 200 grams of vegetable oil. After adding salt and sugar, I crack in 2 eggs and mix with a whisk. After mixing, I let this rest for about 10 minutes to activate the yeast. After 10 minutes pass, I slowly fold the flour from the sides toward the center and start mixing with my hand. Then I move to kneading. As the dough comes together, I add a bit more flour if necessary. I worked quite a bit to achieve a smooth dough. Of course, if we had a dough mixer, it would be much easier. But now we continue with pure arm power. No problem, we are the machine. No need for robots. They say, artificial intelligence robots will take our jobs. Let them come and take them. I'm already tired. Now we cut this large dough with a knife and make 25 equal pieces. I roll each piece by hand and place them on the table. Leave a small space between them, not too much, but don't let them touch either. I press down lightly on the dough balls, then press a little more. Let them rest like this for 5 minutes. Today we will make pides without rolling out the dough. We will shape them with the technique I mentioned. It will be closed pide, but let's see if we can manage. We place the filling balls onto the dough pieces. A very rich and generous filling. Honestly, I am also wondering, will we be able to close these? Yes, first attempt. I lift the dough with both hands, but since I touched the filling too much, I can't close it. When the dough gets wet, it becomes harder to work with. But I found the solution. Don't touch the filling too much. When you lift the dough, immediately bring the edges together and seal. As soon as I pressed and sealed the dough, it worked perfectly. Yes! Now it's working. I am even slowly starting to get better at it. Some pieces reopen, but that's fine. Closing them again is easy. Now we move to the real shaping stage. Hold the dough by both ends and smack it gently on the table a couple of times. Don't try to stretch it immediately. Give the dough some time, it will shape itself. Stretching is not done with a rolling pin. Lift the dough with one hand, let it hang downward, and with the other hand, stretch it slowly by guiding downward. We do this in the air. Just like that, the dough pieces are slowly taking the shape of pide. Not bad for a first attempt. Without using baking paper, I place the pides directly onto the tray. Small tears or openings happen, of course. Ideally, they shouldn't, because while cooking, the dough puffs up, steam forms inside, and that steam cooks the minced meat very nicely. But if there is a tear, the steam escapes. Anyway, it will cook as much as it can. Now I place the trays into the oven. I bake them at 170 degrees for 20 minutes. This oven cooks fast, so the time may vary. In home ovens, it might take longer. I also show how they cook in a sped-up visual montage. It looks quite relaxing. If the pides are browned, both bottom and top, don't worry, it means they are nicely cooked. I will brush a little margarine on top and serve. They really look beautiful, all prepared with hand labor. Now let me taste. Of course, the phone won't stop ringing. You don't even let me take a bite. Anyway, goodbye. They turned out very delicious, and you can easily make them too.